Anecdotes of Reddit presents, what's your best first date? Picked a girl up around noon from her apt 2-hour drive to San Diego. We lived in LA. Non-stop convo the entire time. No awkward silences. Went to a mall near the beach. Lunch at Planet Hollywood. Light shopping at the stores. We even went into a jewelry store and pretended we were getting married, getting the sales clerk super excited when we chose a ring that cost around $22k, and as I'm pulling out my checkbook, she throws out, "Honey, it's a beautiful ring, but I really want to check that other shop before we commit to anything." Went to a movie, made out a bit. On the drive home, managed to find this secluded little patch of beach. It was drizzling lightly, so we took a blanket and found a nice spot along the rocks and sand. Made out like crazy. About 30 yards away was an older couple, mid-late 50s/early 60s. They came over to us and offered us the remains of the bottle of wine they had been sharing, stating what a beautiful couple we were. Drove her home and made out with her on her porch for an hour. The last thing she said to me that evening was, "You are an amazing guy and this is the best date I have ever been on in my entire life. Tonight was absolutely perfect, and I can totally see myself spending the rest of my life with someone like you. Thank you so much for an amazing experience." I never heard from her again. Perfect date and greatest WTF moment of my life. Don't forget to smash that like button so we can beat the YouTube algorithm. It really helps the channel. The one with my wife. It was supposed to be a group study session in a Mexican restaurant. We were the only two to show up. We decided to make it a date. I told her I was in love with her that night. 21 years together Friday. Not a best date story here, but a best breakup. Me and my boyfriend of 3 years had the talk and decided to break up. In total peace. We then went to the cinema and got shit-faced drunk in the back. After that, dinner on a terrace near the water, when all of a sudden the clouds broke. The whole place, the whole city, emptied, while we were under a sunshade kept dry from the pouring rain. We finished dinner, kissed goodbye and went our ways. Props on your night. That sounds great. Close bracket. I didn't even plan on going out on a date that night. I was sitting at home, wondering what to do, when my friend calls me up out of the blue asking if I wanted to hang out with her and her fiancé. They're both good friends and I hadn't seen them in a while, so I said I'd love to. I threw on jeans and a t-shirt and was on my merry way to meet them at a bookstore nearby. So I get there, and not only are my two friends there, but they invited a close friend of theirs as well. I didn't know her very well, but she seemed nice. Well, not 15 minutes after we meet up do the engaged couple state they are tired and are headed home. They had set us up on a surprise blind date. Let me repeat that. **** a surprise blind-date***. I'd never been introduced to someone specifically to date them, let alone been put on a blind date. We had no clue this was about to go down. So we did the normal thing and went to go get a drink together. We talked and talked and talked. We both loved the idea of fighting zombies and listening to Sufjan Stevens. We both were graduating around the same time and were into many of the same things. But the one thing we bonded around the most was our insatiable hatred for Nicolas Cage and desire to literally tear his face off. We've been dating for almost exactly 18 months. We met a few weeks previously and had been texting. He seemed really sweet, so I told him I wanted to hang out sometime. He took the day off work so we could go for lunch. We went to a lovely pub where we had a cute semi-awkward first hug, and we had beautiful lunch. We got talking and it soon occurred to me that I felt like I'd known him for ages. We had similar interests and tastes in movies, music etc, but felt like there was loads we could teach each other. Also it helped that he was majorly cute, had a voice that made me melt and smelled amazing. I had never been and never have been so attracted to someone so quickly. The town we had lunch in, the town he lives in, has a beautiful castle that he had never been to, so I suggested that we go up and wander around, especially seeing as he's into photography. So we went up there and had a look around. We had a wonderful first kiss on top of a cliff looking down on the castle. We then wandered round the town's harbor before deciding what next. I certainly didn't want the date to end, but I didn't want to overstay my welcome. but when he suggested we get dinner somewhere, I jumped at the idea. We dropped his car and took mine and found another pub to have dinner. We sat at our table, had lovely dinner, and talked for a further 6 hours until the pub closed. We talked about everything, from memes to movies to zombie survival tactics to politics to deep philosophy and ideology. We held hands across the table, and every time he went to the bathroom I bought him a G&T. As I drove him back to his house, Porcelain by Moby played. We had another kiss outside his house, and I decided I didn't want to play any games. I really liked this guy, so I suggested we go out again tomorrow. Last week we celebrated our first anniversary, and as far as I'm concerned, this is it. I don't want anyone else. Love you, honey. That sounds like such a perfect night. My BF and I's first date was perfect and the best date I've ever been on, but only because of him. I met him at his place, since he lived close to the restaurant we were supposed to go to. It was his birthday, so I brought a bottle of wine. We sat on the couch and talked and talked and talked, and when I looked up, it was almost 10 p.m. and we had missed our dinner reservation by hours. We made a late dinner together and had our first kiss by the stove as we cooked. We shared the wine, talking and laughing the whole time. I didn't leave until nearly 2 a.m. and just floated home. I met a girl on the first day of class and asked her out for the evening. She was new in town and I had been there for a while. We go out to eat at a nice restaurant and decide to go to the Santa Monica Pier. Then we drive north on the Pacific Coast Highway. We find a little lookout to watch the waves. This must have been at around 10 o'clock. What made the date amazing was that the waves were full of the phosphorescent plankton, so each time the waves rolled in, they were just full of this pulsating light. She was a little cold, so I stepped behind her and held her, keeping her warm. She pulled me closer. I held her tight and then kissed her neck, exhaling deeply through my nose as I did. I could literally feel her knees tremble and almost give out. We drove a little further north to a deserted beach area and had sex in this little cove. Later, we just laid there, watching the waves, until a policeman came and told us that we were not allowed to park on the side of the road. Sorry, I don't have any way to verify this as being true, but it was truly a magical night. The first date with my future wife was both perfect and tremendously low-key. Got a nice dinner at a place where you could draw on the tablecloth with crayons. Ended up covering the table in goofy doodles and cartoons together. Then I took her to my favorite park in the world, http://www.miniaturisanda.org/ and wandered around chatting until it got dark. Then we went back to my place to watch a terrible movie and make out in a sea of pillows whose existence more difficult to explain than it should be. The cherry on top is that I was her first real boyfriend ever, and this was her first real date ever. Been together almost 8 years, married for 4, and our son will be 7 months old in 2 days. Take note, ladies, I went on a date at an Italian restaurant with a pretty girl. We sat at the bar and had a round before we ate dinner. I bought the drinks, and when I pulled out my wallet to pay for dinner, she said, "You got the drinks, I'm going to get dinner." I'm married to that pretty girl now. It really made me know right off the bat that she was a down-to-earth woman who I could see myself actually spending time with when she had her clothes on. My first date was at prom. I'm homeschooled, so I didn't know anyone, so I got set up by a friend. Was very nervous on the way to pick up my blind date, partly because of it being my first date, partly because I didn't know if I'd like the girl or not. Got to the house, and she was so pretty. I was very impressed. My friend set me up with someone like her. We talked a little and had lots of pictures with family taken. Then we headed to prom. Got in and had our official pictures taken. Lol, was a little awkward, but nice pictures anyway. Then we headed into the main room. We talked, had lots of common interests, ate, and danced, which is a big accomplishment for me, lol. Had a really great time. And then we went to the after prom at her high school. That was loads of fun. We got along great, played games, and we held conversations all night. We hung out until 5 in the morning. After she left, I couldn't stop thinking and talking about her. It's been a year and 4 months that we've been going out now equals. BTW, prom night was also my birthday. I got an awesome prom night, awesome first date, and a girlfriend for my birthday equals. My best, and hopefully my last, first date was 21 hours long. I bought plane tickets to come visit a guy I'd met twice. When he came into my work, I'd known him in person for maybe 2 hours. He asked me out, I turned him down. Just getting out of an unhealthy relationship. A month later I'd been thinking about him every day since I turned him down. I tracked him down on Facebook. He got my number. A week and a half of texting/phone calls. He invited me to visit over the weekend. I had to work all day, so I took a late flight, and I had to fly back the next day. We got to his place, and it was so late there was nothing to do but go to bed. We talked all night, held each other, made out, and slept. Sunday we went to church, assembled a coffee table in his living room, and he put me on a plane back home. I knew the second I stepped on the plane I was in love with him. 5 months later he asked me to move down, and I said yes without hesitation. It's been 14 months. Best first date of my life. I'm incredibly shy. I went through high school in total fear of girls. I asked only one girl out. We went on a date and the outcome couldn't have been worse. This was the last half of my senior year, and I was pretty much turned off of even trying for the remainder of the year. After 4 years of college I still had yet to even ask a girl out. Then came organic chemistry second lab. I was early to the lecture portion so sat in the back like always. Then she walked in. I couldn't take my eyes off of her. Short petite curly hair. You couldn't call her cute, but couldn't help notice that she was gorgeous. I was smitten. As luck would have it, she was assigned to the bench across from me, so while waiting on distillation, etc., I could catch glances at her working so diligently, carefully, beautifully. The next week we learned that apparently a lab does not know the alphabet, so we were reassigned benches. She then was right next to me, and today we needed a lab partner. We worked well together. Her voice is acoustic ambrosia. I'm faster than she is, so get my part done quickly. She forgets that our predicted product is caustic and places it in a plastic container, melting it and losing her work. I give her mine and hastily start to redo the entire experiment. We talk and enjoy each other's company the entire time. The next week was similar, but I'm resolved. I never talk to girls. I never have any nerve to ask them out. I leave the lab slightly before she does and walk slowly in the hall to catch her before she goes home. She passes by talking on the phone and I use that as an excuse to not say anything. I use the restroom and see that she had to go back to the lab for something, so I see her again. I waste that opportunity as well. We both leave through different exits, but, yet again, run into each other outside. She asks, "Jeej, are you stalking me?" And I reply, "No, but that's a really good idea." We talk about professors for a few minutes, at which point I ask, "Do you want to grab dinner, since we are out?" She replies, "What do you want?" Me, "I'm not sure, anything right now." "Nope, I already ate." She sees that I'm visibly disappointed. "Hey, I need to study right now, but my friend has organized this show at the music farm later tonight. After I study you should go with me." Of course I agreed and asked what kind of show it was. "Oh, UHH." She was obviously hesitant to say, "I'm not really sure, but I think it will be fun." We go. As soon as I walk in, a group of girls come and all shove their hands into my pockets, stuffing them full of condoms. This show was called Red and put on by a local sex novelty shop celebrating sexuality, sensuality, and all things sexy. It was a week before Valentine's Day as well. She will never admit it, but I suspect said girl knew exactly what kind of show it was. We spent the next 5 hours talking, dancing, as best I could. I suck, and not taking our eyes off each other. I don't even remember most of the show. Even more amazing, is that this girl is very well endowed, especially considering how short she is. This night I don't notice at all. I'm enthralled by her voice, her eyes, her mannerisms. We say goodnight. I sleep more soundly and happily than ever before. I have insomnia. The next day I ask her out for Valentine's Day. She asks me to come over that night. We enjoy a movie at her place, and without much hesitation I can't help but kiss her. We dated for 2 years. For those 2 years I had no insomnia. I felt like a human being for the first time. For the first time ever I felt like I had self-worth. Felt attractive. Felt anything. She broke up with me 9 months ago. I still can't get over her. I've tried dating others but no one compares to her. No one makes me feel human anymore. My insomnia is back. TL. Doctor, I lost out on a goddess. Open bracket. Went to see some movie then roamed over to the local borders. Spent 45 minutes to an hour in there browsing books and talking about what books we liked and disliked. I've known this girl for 15 years and we both decided to give it a shot. This was over 3 years ago. We are still together. Since then we try to go to a bookstore at least once a month together. Yes, I'm a nerd. Yes, she is a nerd. TLDR, I took my hand to see a movie and to the bookstore. I also didn't know my hand until I was 6.